But for Big Daddy and the rest of the pack, its rebel spirit lives on and drives them onwards across Arizona and into the sleepy town of Santa Rosa, New Mexico. After her car refused to start this morning, it's a relief for Linda to have made it at all.
We did 442 miles today, and I'm feeling like I drove 442 miles in an old car. It was just a beautiful, beautiful day, but I'm very, very happy that we're here in Santa Rosa.
But the heat is now on. There are still 3 days driving and over 1,000 miles to go before the Mustangs get to Nashville. It's dawn on the third day of the Mustangs Across America drive to Nashville, Tennessee. Today, the Mustangs must cross 3 states and cover a distance of over 400 miles before they reach Mustang, Oklahoma. Sam Bailey and Chester Spink are preparing themselves for a long day behind the wheel. Sam has driven his 1966 convertible and trailer almost 2,000 miles from Vancouver Island to join the convoy of Mustangs.
Drove down here from Vancouver Island, got the little trailer all along behind us, and gives us a good opportunity to have a bit of independence. We can stop when we want, where we want pretty well. We do our own meals in the trailer.
My role with Sam is to look after him. I'm his chaperone. I'm really his, he's supposed to be his navigator, but he doesn't take a bit of notice of what I say, but I do try. Before I met Sam, I thought Mustangs were the best car made by Chevrolet. So he put me right on that.
Sam and Chester have left their wives at home in Vancouver and have to fend for themselves on the road. Luckily, they make a good team.
I've lived pretty well all my life on Vancouver Island, but I love traveling and seeing other parts of North America, other parts of the world for that matter. I had a career as an automotive mechanic, and 17 years ago, that's where I met Chester actually. I went to Indonesia, ended up going to Borneo to teach mechanics there.
On the way over there, I started to give him a few tips. He wanted to learn the language quick. So all the way over to Hong Kong, he's sitting there saying, "Good evening, how are you?" in Indonesian, which was the way I was teaching him, but siapa kuntut. So when we get to Indonesia, he says, "Good evening, how are you?" to an Indonesian, and they went, "Oh!" It meant who farted. so we got off on the right track from then on.
The convoy of Mustangs from 30 different states are traveling east on Interstate 40, which traces the footsteps of the old Route 66.
I love Route 66. I'm a member of the Canadian Route 66 Association. It's a pretty important part of American history, of course, as far as people being able to travel from the west to the east and vice versa, but it's also an extremely important part of automobile history.
Known as the Mother Road or the Main Street of America, Route 66 was the major artery across the country, linking Chicago to Los Angeles. For many, it was the road to opportunity.
I think a history of America from the time the 13 colonies started was expansion and westward movement. And I think that pioneering spirit of adventure is what has become a part of the national psyche. And that's a heritage and part of Route 66. It's the highway that people used to move out west. A lot of the people in the Depression from Oklahoma and states around it used Route 66 to try and come out to California and the far west. So it's a pretty famous highway. John Steinbeck wrote about it.
Route 66 supported many small towns, bringing money and people to help their economy. By the 1970s, the majority of the route had been superseded by four-lane highways. The road is now slowly disappearing, but the Mustang drivers can still see the remnants of what was once America's most significant highway. But for the towns that had once depended on it, the demise of Route 66 was catastrophic.
In some areas, it's been a tragedy. Whole towns ceased to exist because they were dependent upon interstate commerce and travelers and truckers stopping to eat and rest and relax and stay overnight. And when the interstate system came in and bypassed them, the towns just pretty much died up.
For Sam, showing Sydney this important part of American culture was one of the main reasons he brought him along for the ride.
Sydney's enjoying the trip pretty well. For a 9-year-old, he's traveling very well. My wife and I debated about it quite a bit, about, should we take him out of school, leave him in school, and finally realized that, how often am I going to be able to take my son on a 5-day road trip across the country?